Hi everybody, right. Second time lucky. This is hopefully going to work. So I think Nicole's having connection issues. So let's give it a go. Fingers crossed it's going to work this time. Okay. Hi Anna. Fingers crossed. If not, I've got another team member on standby. Oh,
Hi.
hi. Hello.
Hello. I think it only lets you join as a page. I don't know. That's
Oh.
what it's doing. So I was like, no, I want the other one. Anyway, we've
Oh,
got it
good. Well,
to work.
we made it work, which is good. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here. Gorgeous, Nicole. So, what
Yes.
I think the best place to start is to say a little bit about our relationship and what we are. Some of the Fidge fans, a lot are joining, which is lovely. And so, Nicole, you and I work together. Part of my inner circle. You worked with me for the last 6 months on a really intimate basis. And what you and I were talking about is the kind of profound, not just the profound impact that this work has, but a desire that we're seeing from more and more of the audience for me to be out there sharing messages, really honest messages about what's going on in my business, in my life. And one of the commitments I've made is that it's always from a place of honesty and integrity, that I'm really honest about the ups and downs. And since being in my inner circle, you've come on to join my team. You're based in California, and you've joined alongside the wonderful Jess as an in-house coach. You have also been helping build up the presence in the States. You're helping with engagement with the Fidge Founder Group. So you felt like the perfect person to come on and to host what we're calling a kind of interview. So what we've done, as you know, is we've put out questions to the wider audience. We've sent out things to the mailing list and Instagram, and I think you said you've got quite a few questions that have come through, of which I have no idea what they are. And so thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm
Okay.
here to answer any questions. People are welcome to type questions in the chat box. And as we go through doing these regularly, we will be asking people to submit questions. This is a great way to have accessibility. So whether you want me to feel into something, you want to ask me something about my business or my life, you'll want guidance on a block, this is a perfect opportunity to be able to do it. So I guess before we start, maybe you could talk a little bit about your background and where you've come from and the journey that you've been on over the last 6 months.
Yes. So by trade, I'm a nurse. As all of you can imagine, that is a very trying profession at times. I wanted to get into the world of leadership because I saw that there was a need for a different kind of leader. I just had a different heart and a different soul for employees. And let's just say that was not welcome in the world of leadership, and it was very trying. And I came across Caroline in a very strange way. Um, Literally, the angels sent her to me, and I knew on November 1st, which happened to be 111, I didn't know that at the time, that I needed to leave my position and follow my path and my destiny. And so that involved being in your world for 6 months. And now here I am with you even longer. So very blessed to be around you. And I have not fully left the nursing world. I will be coaching and mentoring nurses and other healthcare professionals who are also depleted. So I look forward to that. That is in my nurses inner circle if you're interested. But what I really wanted out of this, and I hope that everybody can identify, is as a woman, as a human, as a person, a cyclical being, and an entrepreneur, I wanted to know what it was like in your world. And so as we were talking about that, and I hear stuff from your clients, they wanted to know what it was like to live with ego, soul, and spirit on a daily basis. And the beautiful part about you, unlike everybody else's. People think that they have to kind of keep up this persona that everything is perfect. My business is amazing all the time. I don't have to stress about anything. And that's just not the truth. So, welcome to Behind the Scenes with Caroline, living with ego, soul, and spirit. And so, what would you say is ego, soul, and spirit?
So, I mean, they're parts of our daily life. There's no mistake about it. There's different aspects of our being and our psyche that we can tap into. For me, when I think about ego, I think that as the very real and human. I lost you there. So when I think about ego, I think about it as the very real and human part of us that um, is ultimately there to serve us. It's to stop us doing something really stupid, like, throwing ourselves in front of a car or doing anything like that. But ultimately, with ego, is that critical voice, that voice that's really confined. It's pausing. That's really restricted by the mind. It's really restricted by this dialogue that goes on about the need for external validation, looking outside, a reliance on the cerebral, a reliance on things outside of you. It's the part of you that is pausing. I'm so sorry. It's so good old internet issues. Hopefully that's going to work. Yeah, so it's the part of you that's there with the critical voice. Soul is that part of you that is always there. It's there when we arrive. It's there when we leave this world. It's the part of us that we can always connect to, that is our guidance system. It is incredibly powerful. It's what I like to see as the wide lens that looks around and has a completely different view of things than we can ever comprehend when we come at things from ego. Spirit is something that I see as outside of us. It's a connection to something that is energetic, that has a presence that's there to guide us. There is a universal force of life which flows through everything. It's what makes the oceans move. It's what makes the stars shine. It's what governs nature. It's the very essence of who we are. And this is why these three pillars are so important. And it's not about working with one over the other. It's not about saying, right, okay, there's no place for ego, or I'm only going to rely on soul, or I'm only going to connect it to spirit. It's about working with the very real aspects of being human, which is you are going to have an ego that's got an opinion. You have got a soul that you can tune into, and you have got a divine spiritual connection, which is your birthright. So I'm just having a look at a question here from Hannah. How do you run a business from the soul and spirit? What does it look like for you? So when I talk about running a business from my soul, this is about working from intuition, from gut, and from truth. It is very easy when you've got a business to get sucked into the ego. It should look like this. It should be like this. It should work like this. I should do this to get this outcome. And it has been the biggest game changer for my business. And I mean, not just in terms of exponential growth, but the joy that I have when I come from soul. So what does that mean? It means, like, what content do I truly want to create? How do I want to truly show up in the world? If I wasn't chasing things that my ego wants, like more money or more validation and more clients, what about the way that I want to show up, the way I want to be, the way that I want to feel? And this is one of the biggest game changers. So many of us are operating our life and our business from ego, from the cerebral, from the logic. Like, it makes sense to do this. But when you can throw that on its head and go within you and say, well, what does my soul desire? What's my truth? Even if it makes no sense, what does that purest essence of me desire? Who does he or she know themselves to be on the deepest level, and you act from that place? It changes everything. I'm just answering. Sorry, I got diverted from the question, but let me know if that makes sense, Nicole. And I'm sorry that it keeps cutting out. I'll keep
No,
furiously
no.
tapping the screen, and hopefully I'll stay on.
Okay, no problem. I know all these first time glitches. We'll get through them because this is my first Insta Live as well. So I think so I do have some questions that people sent in that I really do want to get to, but I think this question is so wanted and needed that I need to ask it first. And it is, do you ever get scared in your business?
Yes, as you know, yes, I really do. And the thing is, we think this is another thing our ego does. It says when you get to this level, all fear disappears. I'll be happy, the ego says. You'll feel validated, you'll feel successful. It's just not the case. Look, when we are searching for an absence of fear or an absence of discomfort, we're not going to get it. Yeah, that's just not the way it works. We have to recognize that there's a very real part of us, our ego and our mind and our head, that is going to have an input. It's almost running things through a narrative for us. So the fear doesn't go. Yeah, the fear changes, and it's about different things at different levels. But yeah, I mean, I use very real examples. So, I've just made a huge investment in the team, a huge investment in the growth of the team. We've hired a lot more people. We're starting to branch out in different ways. We've done some real heavy investment on getting some really soul aligned people into the team for me. That's huge. And of course I have the egoic freak out of like, what if my business stops being so profitable, or what if it stops growing, or my clients disappear, or what if I hire the wrong person? But this is where we come back to soul. We come back to what feels right. Where am I being guided? And I almost recognize that this is something that is a process that I go through probably daily, is that each morning I'm connecting with my desire, I'm connecting with soul. Like, what am I being shown? What do I desire? What am I being called towards? And the first thing that comes up are all the reasons I can't do it, all the reasons why I might not be worthy or it might not be possible. And then I remember who I am, and I remember which paradigms that I'm choosing to exist in. And I remember that if I can get to where I've got now, I can get here. And this is what I encourage everybody to do, is don't allow fear to be in the driving seat. Don't allow fear and that narrative that comes in to be the guiding force for you, because it's so limited in what it can perceive about the way the world works. Your soul's incredibly wise. So less thinking, more feeling, less in the cerebral, dropping out of the head and into the heart. So I know I've kind of diverted slightly there. You know how I always use 1,000 words when I could use one, but it's, yeah, in essence, yes, I feel fear regularly. And it's not something that we have to back away from. Sometimes I kind of figure, if I'm freaking out so much, it's probably because my ego knows that I'm onto something.
Yeah, that's a great, it's spot on. It's spot on. Okay, so I had several questions
Okay.
submitted. If
Mm-hmm.
next time you want to submit questions, just email me, Nicole at caroline-britton.com. This person approved their name to be said. The others they didn't email fast enough. But Chrissy Jane would like to know, she said, I find that I struggle to stay in soul, purpose, and trust, and often wake up get lost in my ego. So what do you recommend as a daily practice to help?
It feels to me intuitively that potentially you're not letting your ego have its say. When the fear or the ego comes up, we often are like, oh no, I don't want that, like get down, get down, get down, and we try and repress it, which I often think makes it flail even more. So I would say to you, why don't you work through a process every morning, which is what I just said earlier, is like, what's my soul saying? Okay, what's my ego saying? Bring it to me. Like, I often do that. Give me your best shot, ego. What is it that you want to say? Allow it to have its say, because when you look at it straight on, it kind of dilutes its presence with you. Then ask yourself this: how could I look at this differently? How could I view myself differently? And see what moves through you. Then this is where we kind of come to the real game changer. You come into your heart space, the space which you choose from, and you ask yourself this: what am I going to choose today? Which narrative, which world, which paradigm am I going to choose to play in today? And that will help hugely.
Amazing. That's great. So the next question, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is a good one, because I tend to fall into this as well, is how do you not let insecurity and doubt overwhelm you and stop you from moving forward?
It's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to treat that part of you with compassion. You have to treat that part of you that has insecurity and doubt with love, and but be boundaried. So it's like, okay, I hear you. You want to be seen again. I know that you're worried. I know you don't think I'm good enough or worthy enough or whatever it might be. And I hear and I recognize that and I love you. But I'm in charge here. And actually, I can choose to run my life from the narrative of that person, or I can choose to trust myself as this person. And what I would ask you to do is look at those insecurities and those doubts and say to yourself, well, what's the theme in here? What is it that underlies all of it? Is it an underlying belief that good things can't happen to me? It's not safe for good things to happen to me, that I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving. Try and do some exploration there. And this isn't about deconstructing necessarily. This is about you coming into your power and saying, you know, am I going to give my power to that? And this is just a lens through which I choose to see the world. So what if I changed the lens? And one of the most powerful practices, isn't it, super simple, that's happened for, worked hugely for me and that I use a lot, is the power of an affirmation, of saying, like, I am worthy, I am enough, I am powerful, I am safe. Because our subconscious is amazing. It believes what we tell it. It doesn't filter things out. So choose your words wisely, choose the power of affirmations, and use that to really be working on your subconscious, because then you're going to change the filter through which you see the world. So it's a bit like, you know, when we've got blocks around money, and we've got this kind of filter on, which is like, I'm always broke, or I always run out of money, or money's difficult. And it's all we see. Yeah, it's all we see. And then when we start really locking in beliefs about money flowing easily and effortlessly, or being abundant, or being rich, or being prosperous, and it really sinks in, you start noticing the pound on the street. You start noticing the opportunity to bring in new income streams. You start noticing a different way of viewing yourself in the world, and that's the game changer. It's all coming from you. It's not coming from outside of you. It's about you working with your internal world. That's going to help hugely.
Yes, I shifting the lens is extremely important. We had some Fear to Founder calls yesterday, and we talked about that lens and how one of your Fear to Founder clients was viewing where she lived as kind of a negative because she seems a little bit more isolated than if she was in London. And we said, no, use that as to your advantage. Oh my gosh, you're getting this product from this very exclusive place, you know. So
Yeah.
shifting that lens to help reframe your world, that you're unique and you're special, and you
Yeah.
know your brand is amazing, is a great tip. One of the other Fear to Founder clients, she actually submitted several questions. So we'll see how many we get to, because I know you need to hop off to go on another call.
Well, I've got the
Um,
school run, that's all. So I need to
oh,
leave
yes.
at 22. So I still got 15 minutes, and I've got to go and get the little ones.
Okay, sounds good. 22.
Yeah, 20 to 3.
Oh, 20. Oh, 22, 3. See, we have different language. 22 would have meant 2 for me. Okay. So what are the best ways to build a following of people that are in your specific niche?
Speak from the soul. speak from a place of service, not trying to impress people. It's one of the biggest game changers. If you're trying to grow your following, grow your tribe, fill programs, sell products, you just need to come at it from soul. Come at it as an opportunity for you to speak your truth. Come at it as an opportunity for you to help people and be of service. Don't come at things from a need to impress. People will respond to the energy you put out there. So if you're doing something and you're coming at it from a place of service and you're coming at it from a place of genuinely wanting to help people, if you're sharing your message because it just needs to move through you, that's what people are always responding to. So you must start there. And as hard as it is, try not to get fixated on the numbers. Try and focus on service. Is this going to help people? Am I being of service here? Is what I'm saying just something that needs to be expressed and moved through me? That's where you start. Honestly, I kind of throw away the rule book a bit of like, well, this is the ideal client and this is exactly how you speak to them, and just think you've heard me teach on this. I'm like, my job is to be me. And my job is to go out there, and a coach gave me a great piece of advice, which is like, not my job to go out and find people. It's my job to allow people to see me. And the more you speak your truth and whatever wants to move through, you will literally energetically be magnetizing people towards you.
Hence how we found each other, knowing
Okay.
nobody.
Yeah.
I'm in California, you're in the UK, and we just came
But you know,
together.
we've all seen that, haven't we? Where somebody writes something and it's like, oh, you know, it's like it gets you in the heart and it gets you in the soul and it just speaks to you. Every one of us has that power. So just go and do you. That's the best advice I can give you.
Yes, definitely. Be your authentic self. And you also talk a lot about embodying that person that you are striving to be. So never striving, but embodying that person now. Maybe you could speak a little about that.
Yeah, so I think the energy that people get into is they constantly try and work towards being this version of themselves rather than acting from it. And that's the thing. It's about you showing up now as that person who has that following and has that brand and is making that much money or whatever it might be for you. That's incredibly powerful. People feel that off you. So I am consistently tapping into the energetic state of the person who's over here, the best-selling author, the global speaker, with a multiple 8-figure business and doing all these like incredible things. I'm constantly tapping into her energy and like, well, how does she think? How does she speak? How does she view the world? How does she view life? How does she show up for people? How does she show up for herself? What's important to her? What's important to her? What does she believe to be true? Keep tapping into that and act from that place, even if it doesn't make any sense.
That's beautiful. So I think one of the ways that I would love to kind of end our conversations on Instagram, Caroline and I will be her every other week. And then on the other weeks, she will be interviewing somebody, or that's kind of the thought for our format. We'll see how it all goes. But how I would like to end each one is to talk about what has been coming up specifically for you this week, so that the people who are watching get to know you in a real sense, in a raw way of what it's like in Caroline's world, and what you've come against this week.
The biggest thing for me is that I have been really holding the energy of creating more space in my business. That the simpler I allow it to be, the more I'm connected to joy and soul, the more my business grows. And my goodness, is it happening? Like, it really is happening. And I have found myself deeply uncomfortable with the space. I literally messaged my mentor Kat the other day and I was like, I'm here. I've got my business to where it wants to be. I've got this amazing team who are taking care of things. I've created space. I don't know what to do with it. And it's so interesting. I mean, I come from the corporate world. I had a background working in a big global consultancy for 14 years. And it was a real, ethic of working hard and showing up. And I have worked hard in my business as well. Of course I have. But also I kind of made a choice about 6 months ago of actually this is about me connecting in more and more so I can be a bigger and bigger service. And I I've really struggled with that. It's like, well, it's lazy, or it's going to have repercussions, or this is going to... So I'm really working on it's safe for me to have space. It's my responsibility to create space to connect in more. I'm embodying everything that I'm teaching my clients. Like, this is okay. You are deserving, Caroline, of having a business like this and having space around it. So it's been really interesting. That's been coming up for me a lot recently, and I'm working through that at the moment.
That's amazing. So that is all of our questions that were submitted this week. I think that this actually went fairly well.
It went fairly well. It was good. We've got the first one out of the way. It's always the way. It's like the first time I did a workshop, or I did a speaking event, or I did my first program, my first one-to-one client. It's just the next thing. But actually, I'm thrilled that we've had quite a lot of people who have joined live and stayed live. And then obviously I believe this just goes on the Instagram grid so people can catch the replay. So really importantly, any questions, we want to create a space here where we're just answering more and more questions for you. So you can message me directly, you can message Nicole. Thank you for all your support. Thank you, Joe. And thank you, Kieran. And thank you, Nicole. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Same time, Tuesday at 2 p.m. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.